You're not going to be a dictator, are you? You don't know other than day one.
Donald Trump has successfully moved the Overton window in a way that is as dangerous for the future of democracy in this country as anything else.
This is what Vout and Project 2025 wanted.
He's daring Tom Homan to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
They control the Congress, they control the White House, and they control the courts. And so, of course, they're massively overreaching. And yes, they are getting away with it right now.
This is clearly a man who cannot tolerate criticism of him or what he does, which is exactly what authoritarianism is all about.
The New York Times is just as fake as CNN and MSDNC. They really are the enemy of the people.
What he is saying, rather bluntly, if you stand up to Donald Trump, he will punish you.
Protesters in Philadelphia, state capitals in California, Minnesota, Michigan, Texas, Wisconsin, Indiana, and others showed up to oppose Trump, Musk, and Project 2025.
The US and President Trump has overseen America's largest military parade in decades as nationwide protests take place against his leadership.
Demonstrations are happening right across the United States today to oppose the Trump administration.
Two visions of America. On a day the country's deepening divide was there for all the world to see.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jeff Waldorf, and you are watching Logically Left right here, YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. Yeah, all sorts of different platforms here. Really need to grow those other two, but welcome. I got a good show for you today. A lot of stuff that's going on here. I'm going to talk about the Epstein stuff. Obviously, you've got the Epstein survivors, including one of them who recently spoke to last night, actually, Lawrence O'Donnell over on MSNBC. I'm going to talk about that because she is a Trump voter who called out Donald Trump. Oh, interesting. We have the job market. I'm going to talk about that and how it's not doing so good. Okay, I thought Trump was supposed to be the jobs president, right? The people voted for him, because we got to get the economy going and everything. Well, no, turns out not happening. Not going well. Then we have, of course, Florida looking to ban vaccines for kids. Not just COVID, but all of them. All of them. There you go. There's that. And then I'm going to dunk on Mitch McConnell because I think he's earned it. He had an interview here in one of his local papers, and he avoids talking about Donald Trump whatsoever. And so, yeah, he's got a warning, but don't worry, he doesn't criticize Trump or really any other Republican. So, big shocker there. All right, so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. With that, I do, by the way, want to thank supporters of the show, members like Boston C-Rad and Solmir Pendergast. Thank you for being a member of the show. Thank you, Amanda Surratt. Thank you, Rachel, Ghost in the Machine. All the people who support us on our YouTube membership page. You can be a member by hitting the join button below. Okay. So yeah, hit that join button, hit the like button, all that wonderful stuff. Now, another way that you can support the show is by going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/JeffWaldorf, and signing up to support us. Independent progressive media. Hey, yes, truly independent progressive media. I have no secret donors. Just y'all. Again, I just gave a shout out to the people who fund this program. And again, it's not dark money groups, nothing like that. I don't do poly market. I don't do anything like that. So I just rely on you guys. And I need, of course, I need more people to sign up to support the work that we do here. Yeah, if you can sign up to all the different ways, I really appreciate it. Okay. With that said, let's dive into the stories. And we'll start out with this one. Fun times. Okay. A survivor of Jeffrey Epstein, who actually voted for President Donald Trump in 2024, is now calling him out. It's Jenna Lisa Jones, who was just 14 years old when she was abused by the predator financier, recently spoke to Lawrence O'Donnell on The Last Word. Now, this is after she had gathered in front of the Capitol on Wednesday with other survivors. That was, by the way, nearly disrupted by a planned flyover. That's right. This administration had a planned flyover to try to disrupt this entire thing. I mean, if that doesn't say something, if that doesn't say, ooh, I don't want you talking about this stuff, I don't know what does. All right. So that, I mean, right there, great example of how he's trying to run away from the Epstein stuff. Now, afterwards, when his flyover didn't work, he lashed out at the Epstein files and the people that are trying to raise awareness of them, and called it a Democrat hoax that never ends. It never ends. Well, I mean, you could end it today by having the DOJ release all the files unredacted. I'm just saying that you could end this today. You have the power. Oh, but you don't do it. Of course. But anyway, I want to show you a video here of Jones responding to Trump's assertion that this is just nothing more than a Democrat hoax.
I voted for him. I voted for Trump. And for him to say what he's saying is beyond me, because I put my hope in him and he's supposed to protect us. And for him to say that this is a joke and that it's sides, this is not sides. We will say it time and time again. None of us are up there accusing him of anything. There is no one that is accusing him of any wrongdoing. So for the fact that he is saying those things and saying it's a hoax, who are you hiding for then? Because if it's not you, then who is it? And that scares me. Who is it?
That's a fair question. Look, here's the thing. She is a survivor, and I absolutely respect her, okay, for that. I don't believe in blaming the victim. I'm not doing that. But I got to say, voting for a man who has been credibly accused of sexual assault by over 20 women and has declared that when you're a star, you can, quote, grab him by the pussy and get away with it, I think right there, that should have been a clue that this man is not and never will be on your side. I get it. Now, look, I can understand the frustration felt by other victims that the Democrats didn't really address this either. They didn't really make this a big issue, okay? Now, I'm not saying that none of the Democrats has been like, we should release the Epstein files under Biden. There actually were some. And not only that, but you had, under Biden, Thomas Massie saying the same thing. Hey, we should release those files. And certainly there have been people like myself and other people who do commentary talking about, hey, for years, hey, I'd like to know if there's a client list and what kind of powerful people are on that. Talking about that for years. Okay. But anyway, here's the thing. I think one of the reasons that the Democratic leadership did not make this a big issue when they were in power is because Washington's a boys' club. Let's be honest. And I'm sure, I'm almost certain that there are wealthy donors, wealthy funders that have, of course, abused girls. Okay. That said, she's going to address why no one's been really, in the government, no one really has done much about this. And again, she's going to address why she thinks that's the case.
The government has been protecting Jeffrey Epstein from the beginning. We can go back as far as he had people calling him out in the 90s. We can call it out when his case brought up in Palm Beach and he got prosecuted. They brought it up to a federal level. Alex Acosta decided that he would bring it back down to a state level and only charge him for 2 women. I can sit here and wholeheartedly tell you they never fully investigated that case at that time. They never truly went into how deep the spiral of twists and turns of who was connected and how they were connected. And even if they weren't involved, they knew it was going on or had been asked by friend members to participate in that and chose not to. And thank God they did it.
So Alex Acosta, and she mentions him, right? That is a man that was appointed by Donald Trump to be his, I believe, labor secretary. And Trump himself had been one of Epstein's close friends. Epstein would literally brag about how close he was to Donald Trump. And so it still boggles my mind that any survivor of sexual assault could look to Donald Trump and say, oh, yeah, no, that guy's on my side. Are you sure? Are you sure? Look, and here's the thing. I think that's a failure of the system, okay? It is a failure of our society to believe survivors. So, I mean, I don't know what else I can say to that. Now, O'Donnell then asked her if she had any message for President Trump. Here's that.
You have daughters. You know what it is like to raise children and to be a parent. Outside of all this hoopla that you're the president or you're Donald J. Trump and you have your Trump stuff, you know what it is to be a parent. You know that. Could you imagine if that was your daughter that was trafficked to people? Could you imagine your 14-year-old daughter having to go through what we had to go through? And then you sit here and say what you said? You should be supporting us. You should be backing us. And if you have any doubt of your mind, our lawyers are ready to speak. We have spoken to FBI. We have just spoken to every law enforcement agency that we could possibly have been asked to speak to. We have been traced down to corroborate our stories. And this is not a joke. We spoke our truth and you were telling us pretty much that we're lying. I put my hope in you when I voted for you for our country, and you can't even back us when we need you the most. And we need to heal. We're not healing.
Okay, so look, some people, you're probably going to get mad at me for saying this, right? But I am almost certain that Trump has imagined his daughter going through something like this and probably liked the idea. I'm just saying, all right? Remember, he said, oh, if she wasn't my daughter, I'd be dating her. Who says that about their kids? Who says that about your kids? That's weird. And so, I don't know. Not to mention all the other weird stuff that he has said about her body on the Howard Stern show. And there's the tapes. You could go back all the way through it. All the way through it. Okay? And so, yeah, I don't exactly think it's going to be an effective message, even though I like the message. It's just that the audience there is not going to listen. He is not going to listen to you. Okay? He does not give a single crap about any of the victims. Okay? Let me put this really simple. Donald Trump, if you voted for him, he used you. Okay? He used you as a talking point against Democrats because of QAnon. right? Understand that Donald Trump latches onto certain things that are popular, and then claims to have always been in favor of those things until he gets what he wants. What Trump wanted this time was power, and to avoid any of the consequences for the way that he has lived his life and the crimes that he has committed. Now he has that power, and he ain't going to let it go. And that's one problem, okay? And in addition to that, he is certainly not going to honor any of the promises that he has made, because he never meant any of it. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. Look, at the end of the day, these women went through something that no one ever should. And I don't know why, but they put their trust in the one person who never, ever had their back and never will. And maybe that's because we failed. Like, we as a society, we failed them. People on the left, we failed them. And it caused them to turn to a con man. I don't know. But despite all of that, they still deserve justice. All the victims do. They deserve transparency. And they deserve the truth. And that is why we need to continue to call on them to release the files. Release the Epstein files unedited. Release them, all of them, now. Okay. Before I go on to the next segment here, I need to take a real quick break here. But I'll be back with the job market stuff right after this. Again, very quick break. All right, everybody. I am back. All right, so I'm going to move right on to the next story here, and that is the job market. Fun times. Despite the fact that President Donald Trump has fired his last Bureau of Labor Statistics chief because of the accurate, terrible jobs numbers, we have new numbers that are in, and it turns out that they are no better than they were last time. Oh, they're actually worse. Now, the agency's latest job openings and labor turnover report actually recorded about 7.18 million employment listings for July, while private sector business only added an estimated 54,000 jobs in August. So that, of course, is mainly from the leisure and hospitality sectors. So to put that in perspective, okay, This is the second time that the jobs numbers actually dipped below 7.2 million. Okay, so they didn't really add a whole lot of jobs. And that's since the last quarter of 2020, when the government and businesses still actually gave a crap about COVID. Wasn't that a time? It's also lower than independent economists polled by Dow Jones had forecasted. So, all in all, this is not good. This is bad. Real bad. Okay. The job numbers basically stagnant. People cannot get jobs. If you're unemployed, it takes a very, very long time for you to be able to get back into the job market, even if you're looking really hard. And that, again, is despite deporting over 1 million people. That's right. Turns out that it wasn't the illegals that stole your job. Once again, you have Republican policies that kill jobs. Now, in response to the previous job numbers, showing that employers had only generated 73,000 new jobs for July, well short of the 109,000 outlined in the White House forecasts, Trump had fired BLS chief Erica McIntyre and claimed that she had rigged the numbers to make Trump look bad. Oh, she rigged the numbers. She's Democrat plant. She wants me to look bad. Really? Well, that really doesn't make any sense to me. Okay. But anyway, that's what he said. He fired her and put in E.J. Antoni. Okay. So now E.J. Antoni was the chief economist at the ultra-conservative Heritage Foundation and one of the leading architects of Project 2025. So this guy, I mean, why is this guy rigging the numbers to make Donald Trump look bad? Oh, I don't think he is. Look, I'm not sure how he's going to try to spin the numbers on this one, okay? Because they don't lie. The numbers don't lie, all right? Everybody can see what's going on. Look, hiring is slow. People are not leaving their jobs. People are not leaving their homes. They're not buying new homes or selling their homes. The entire economy right now is stagnating. And you have prices that continue to rise thanks to tariffs and inflation. And then you have economic uncertainty. People, that really don't want to go out and spend money anymore. And then, of course, you have AI that is also taking people's jobs. And so, look, things are not good, and they're only going to get worse. Look, right now, so far, there hasn't been a huge uptick on the layoffs yet. Unemployment's still around 4.2%. Now, this is according to Challenger Grain Christmas's latest job cut tracking report. In August, employers announced plans for 85,979 layoffs, which is a big increase from the 62,075 layoffs that were announced in July. So it is going up, but not hugely yet. It is very possible, though, that this will pick up. I mean, look, unemployment has already ticked up for Black Americans. During the past 2 months, for example, the unemployment rate for Black workers jumped from 6 to 6.8%, that's in June, then to 7.2 in July. It is now at a 4-year high. Now, in case you're wondering, well, why does that matter? Black people are working. They're the canary in the coal mine. Okay, that's what it is. They're the canary in the coal mine that could foretell a broader job market slowdown. So understand that it's really, really important to pay attention to the Black job numbers. Okay, because again, they're often the ones that are hit first, unfortunately, and then it's coming for everyone else. Now, what about wages, by the way? Wages also slowing when it comes to growth. What about inflation? Inflation going up. So, look, again, things are not good, and they're going to get worse. And you wonder, what's he going to say about all this? What's he going to say? He's probably going to lie. Let's be honest. He's going to lie. He's going to gaslight people. And his little minions on social media are going to do the exact same. They're going to repeat the talking points. Everything's fine. No, the best economy ever. Everything's great. No, it's not. We can see it with our own eyes. The economy is not doing well under Donald Trump. And it's not really surprising. It shouldn't be surprising. The man got rid of all the adults in the room. Okay? And now he's basically turning our country into one of his failed businesses while trying to stuff as much cash as he can into his own pockets, our money. That's the reality of Donald Trump and his disastrous economy. Okay. Moving on here. Let's talk about Florida. Of course, Florida. The state of Florida is about to get more dangerous. On Wednesday, the state's Surgeon General, Joseph Ladapo, had announced a new change in the requirements for vaccines. So basically, he announced that children will soon no longer be required to be vaccinated against measles, mumps, chickenpox, polio, and hepatitis, among others. Oh boy, I hope you got your iron lung ready, because things are going to get bad in Florida. Not good at all. Not good at all. But again, what do you expect from Joseph Ladapo, who was busted altering data in his 2022 study about COVID, the vaccines? Now, in that study, he was found to have exaggerated the risk to young men who received one. So this guy is, he is a dangerous person. And he is making dangerous decisions, and yet the fact that he is making these decisions is exactly why he is now in the position that he is in. So, now, of course, that means he was going to get rid of vaccine mandates. Again, not just the COVID vaccine, but all the vaccines, the childhood vaccines that have saved numerous lives. Now, in his speech, he basically likened vaccine mandates to quote unquote slavery. Slavery. He said, quote, every last one of them, mandates, is wrong and drips with disdain and slavery. He added, people have a right to make their own decisions. Who am I, as a government or anyone else, to tell you what you should put in your body? Our body is a gift from God. What you put in your body is because of your relationship with your body and your God. Okay, but he says, well, what right do I have to tell you what to put in your body? Unless it's, of course, drugs. Remember, Florida has some of the strictest drug laws in the country. So, for example, cannabis. That is still illegal outside of medicinal use, all right? And carries currently both fines and prison time for possession. Now, I believe that there will be a referendum on that where, individual voters will be able to vote to legalize, okay? Because if it's left with the legislature, they're going to continue this, okay? So, but leave it to the voters, and then, there's a good chance that they may end up legalizing it for recreational use, okay? But currently, still illegal outside of medical use. So apparently, You can tell people what they can and cannot put in their bodies. Weird. I thought you said that was a relationship between you, your body, and your God. It turns out, no. When big government wants to get involved, big government gonna get involved, especially under Republicans. Okay. So now there's more. He also said in his announcement that he expected that this move would receive the blessing of God. Oh, okay. How can you quantify that? How can you really show that? Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. My decision, it's got the blessing of God. Well, I don't trust you, so maybe God can come in and tell me. Okay? Maybe he can do it. Oh, turns out that's not going to happen, of course. Now, he also claimed that growing vaccine skepticism is just, quote, reflections of God's light against the darkness of tyranny and oppression. Yes, tyranny and oppression, everybody. The tyranny of not getting polio or having your kids die from the measles. Look, apparently these people are just going to go back to the bad old days of letting God decide if your kid's going to die from a preventable illness. Or not just your kid either, but probably, your grandpa, your grandma. I mean, again, these are the same people, and nobody should be surprised. Same people that were like, you know what we need to do? We should sacrifice grandma so that I can go and eat at Applebee's without a mask. I am willing to make that sacrifice. I'm willing to sacrifice you and also myself. That's what they're doing. Okay, so this is ridiculous. But it's not just, these people aren't just idiots, okay? They are very dangerous. Comparing getting a vaccine, that doesn't just protect you, by the way. It protects immunocompromised people. It protects the disabled. It protects the elderly. It protects children who are too young to get the vaccines. And people who might have adverse vaccine reactions, and so they can't get vaccinated either. It protects them from these dangerous diseases. You getting vaccinated, called herd immunity. Comparing that to slavery is ridiculous. And worse than ridiculous, okay? But unsurprising, again, because the state is also whitewashing the history of slavery. Right now, Florida's education curriculum is required to teach kids that slavery is a benefit to those who were enslaved. Really, the only benefit of slavery was for the slave owners who got wealthy off of other people's unpaid labor. But here's the thing, vaccines save lives. According to a CDC report published last year, routine childhood vaccinations prevented about 508 million cases of illness across the country, 32 million hospitalizations, and 1.13 million deaths among children born in the U.S. between 1994 and 2023. Not only that, but it's estimated that the vaccine program nationally resulted in a direct savings of $540 billion in medical costs and societal savings of $2.7 trillion. Both lives and money have been saved, and yet Florida is about to undo all of that. All of that based on nothing, on pseudoscience, fake, not actual science, not real science at all, because they don't believe in real science. Okay, they just don't. So they're undoing that. Why? To appeal to idiots. To appeal to idiots. I mean, people that believe, people that say things like vaccines don't cure anything. No kidding. Of course they don't cure anything. They prevent things. They train your immune system. Do you even know how this stuff works? No, you don't. You're dumb. But that's okay. You could fix that by learning things. I know. It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. And look, if you want to make comments about how Big Pharma sucks, they do. I agree with that. But the reason Big Pharma sucks is because they gatekeep life-saving drugs from the American people. They gatekeep it in return. They're basically a person that charges a toll, okay? They are charging you for these drugs that could save your life. And a lot of people cannot afford those drugs. They can't. So they get sick, they die. Vaccines are not where they make their money. They make their money off of cancer drugs, for example, or weight loss drugs. That's where they make most of their cash, not from vaccines. And so there's so much bullshit, misinformation going around. Not just misinformation, but disinformation from people who want to see people get sick, who want to see people die from these preventable diseases. And you know what? A lot of people are playing right into that. They're playing into that goal. And so, congratulations, because now Florida is going to be turning into a petri dish, literally. They're doing an experimentation on their children, the children of that state. That's what's happening now. And it's going to get bad. It's going to get real bad. Anna Eskamani, Florida state representative, called this, quote, a public health disaster in the making. Ending vaccine mandates is reckless and dangerous. It will drive down immunization rates and open the door to outbreaks of preventable diseases, putting children, seniors, and vulnerable Floridians at risk. Yes, it is incredibly selfish. It is incredibly selfish to do this. David Jolly, former Republican congressman, who is now a Democrat, he's running as a Democrat, he said this, quote, the next governor gets to fire this guy, Ladapo, and I know I would. Hopefully Byron Donalds or Paul Renner would do the same. And those are the Republicans that are running to replace Ron DeSantis. You know what? On that, I doubt that he will. Okay? I really doubt that any of these Republicans that will come after Ron DeSantis will undo any of this. Will reimpose vaccine mandates if they do vote to get rid of it, which they haven't yet. And there's no timetable on it because the legislature has to do this. So I don't know if it's going to happen, and I hope it doesn't. But it could, and they want to. Now, John Moore, professor of microbiology and immunology at Weill Cornell Medicine in New York, said this, quote, Florida's undertakers will now need to plan for the future by increasing their stocks of small coffins. I hope they come in fire engine red or frog green. I mean, credit to people who get that reference. But seriously, this is a serious issue, and it's a terrible issue. Now, Dorit Rice, professor of law at University of California College of the Law, San Francisco, specializes in vaccine law and policy, adds, since the 1980s, all states have had school vaccine mandates. If Florida abolishes its mandate, it would be the first in recent times to do so. One reason all states adopted them in the first place is that evidence showed, oh man, remember that? Remember when we actually used to live to, listen to evidence? Crazy, right? How things change in such a short amount of time. But anyway, that evidence showed school mandates reduced and prevented outbreaks. If Florida does this, she says, it's creating an unfortunate natural experiment with its children as guinea pigs. Children deserve better. They do, but unfortunately, Republicans are in charge now. The dumbing down of America is pretty much complete. And it's been a long process of making this country and its people dumber has finally approached fruition. We have, as a society, elected the dumbest and most dangerous people into positions of power. We have given them free reign over our lives. And you know what? When that happens, it's not going to take that long for the bill to come due. And I'm afraid that the cost of this, the cost of putting these people in charge, it's going to end up being rather high. Okay. Jayhawker 41 the Ball Dragon says it's going to kill a lot of old people too. Yeah, exactly. Again, you've got elderly, children, the disabled, the immunocompromised. All these people are just, I mean, they're in danger. They're in big trouble. Florida is going to have another 1918. Oh, Spanish flu. Yeah, not good at all. Not good at all. All right. Moving on. Last story here. Let's talk about Mitch McConnell. I mean, that pretty much tells you what you need to know right there. Okay. That is not the right coffee cup. I have too many coffee cups on my desk. But not enough coffee, apparently. Senator Mitch McConnell, who is the outgoing senator from Kentucky, is once again back with another warning about the situation he had helped create. In an interview published Wednesday with the Lexington Herald Leader, McConnell said that I think this is the most dangerous period since before World War II. Oh, wow. There are certain similarities right now to the 30s. Oh, is it? I mean, is this, are you finally going to address the fascist madman who, is dismantling our system piece by piece with, he and his cronies? How about the armed thugs in masks that are patrolling the streets, disappearing immigrants, and violating due process? Does that have to do with any of that? Oh, please tell me. Please tell me. Well, you're going to be very disappointed. No. Apparently, according to McConnell, it is the tariffs that are the problem and foreign policy. Oh, okay. So on the tariffs, he did criticize them. He pointed to the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, which he said is, quote, widely believed by historians and economists to have taken the Depression worldwide. Yeah, look, here's the thing. He ain't wrong about that. Yes, every time a nation has imposed mass tariffs, it usually ends up badly for that particular country. Now, let me be very clear. I'm not saying tariffs are bad in every circumstances. There are situations where tariffs make sense. But, and this is the big but, okay, you actually have to be smart in order to use tariffs effectively. If you're not smart, if you don't use them right, and in the right circumstances, you end up hurting your own country. Okay, so no, here's the thing about trade, because there are issues with trade, by the way. One of the problems here, all right, is the fact that American corporations have been allowed to outsource their manufacturing to developing countries, okay? For example, China, Vietnam, Bangladesh, and they did that in order to save money on labor and to skirt environmental protections. And of course, they also skirt labor laws too, because a lot of those countries didn't have labor laws. So now these companies would then import the stuff made by exploited workers, because that's what they're doing. They're exploiting these foreign workers, okay? And then bring them back here, sell them for slightly cheaper than they would in America, okay? Than stuff made here. And so, but because labor costs were so low there, they would make a massive profit. Massive. And so the result is undercutting American workers and incentivizing other companies to send their workforce overseas. So other countries, they didn't steal your jobs. Foreigners didn't steal your jobs. greedy CEOs sent your jobs away so that they could make more profit, enough to maybe, I don't know, buy a second or third yacht. That's the reality of the situation. All right. So that's one of our big problems with trade. Now, that said, back to the tariffs, right? Now, tariffs, remember, they're not paid for by other countries. We pay them. The companies that import the goods, they first pay the tariff to the government, and then those same companies pass on the cost to the consumer, which would be us, in case you were wondering. Okay, that's it. That's it. All the revenue that is generated by the tariffs that this administration is crowing about, oh man, we made so many billions of dollars off the tariff. That's actually our money. That's our money. It is a tax. These tariffs are a tax on us. That's it. That's the reality. Okay. And so, look, I agree with him that the tariffs are a stupid idea. Really, it is. But again, he's still refusing to actually criticize Donald Trump himself. In fact, he went into discussing foreign policy next. Okay. Once again, something that Trump has, done certain things on that weren't very smart. But he said this, quote, "Those who were totally anxious to stay out of all of what was going on in Europe at the time, World War II, were called America First." Sound familiar? So what do we have today? North Korea, China, Russia, Iran, and Iran's proxies. They're very different kinds of countries, but they have one thing in common. They hate us. So when you talk about preparedness, we're not prepared like we should be. Well, now, hold on, Mitch. Tell me, why exactly do many of those countries hate us in the first place? I mean, Iran has a pretty good reason, and let's be fair about that. What reason could that be? The fact that we overthrew their democracy and installed a puppet regime, which was then overthrown. And in its place, they ended up installing a repressive theocracy. So, yeah, it kind of makes sense that they would hate us after what we did. Okay. And so now North Korea, remember, we went to war in Korea, the Korean War, and we did that just like we did in Vietnam. And the whole goal of that was to contain communism or something. Okay. And in Vietnam specifically, we ended up shooting children and burning down entire villages in the jungle. We lost that one. And Korea ended up with a stalemate with the South after the Chinese got involved. And also maybe another reason why China isn't exactly friendly towards us either. But look, what I'm trying to say is Iran, okay, is that a lot of our foreign policy decisions, Iran included, China, all these countries, since at least the 1950s, were designed with one goal in mind. What goal is that? To protect and help American corporations make profit. That's really it. I mean, for example, Iran, the reason that we overthrew the democratically elected government of Iran is because they were going to nationalize their oil. And we're like, no, we do not want that. No, we want American corporations to continue to have control over that oil supply. Iraq, kind of the same thing. Iraq had oil. And so, we're kind of like, oh, let's go take it. Okay. And also, let's be fair, George W. Bush wanted revenge for, on Saddam Hussein for attempting to assassinate his dad. And so there's that. The first Gulf War and all that. Afghanistan, I think it was more about the poppy fields than anything, not terrorism. Really no reason for us to even have gone into Afghanistan at first. Okay. And so all of that, by the way, every one of these wars also served to do what? To prop up the military-industrial complex. It's very powerful on Capitol Hill. That's why they have an extremely large budget now. The war budget. And so, yeah, that's the reality here. Now, Mitch McConnell, by the way, Mitch McConnell and most of our politicians serve that military-industrial complex. Okay? I mean, think of places like Virginia, right? There's a lot of companies that have a lot of jobs in that state. And so now you have these politicians that serve the donors, okay? And those donors control the jobs. And so if they don't get what they want, they might move their job somewhere else. And that's going to be very bad for that politician, okay? And so that's the reality. Now, that said, getting back to Mitch McConnell, now he had warned about failure in Ukraine, all right, to stop the Russian advance. He said, with regard to Ukraine, what we need to do is avoid the headline at the end of the war. Russia wins, America loses. It has huge worldwide implications. Okay. I mean, sure. And for those, he says, who are concerned about the money, I think it's important to remember that about half the money, getting back to the military-industrial complex here, was spent in this country, including in Kentucky, with 38 states modernizing our own industrial bases. We've sent older weapons to Ukraine. So, all right. Basically, I read through that interview, and he didn't talk about Trump's authoritarianism. He didn't talk about sending the military into cities like D.C. and L.A., illegally, by the way, as a federal judge had recently declared that Trump sending in the military to L.A. was illegal. Didn't mention any of that. Nope. In fact, he basically said, I'm not criticizing Donald Trump or any Republican. That's really it. Now, here's the full quote on that. Whether you're the president or the leader of one of the parties is the Ronald Reagan quote that I thought made the most sense. He had what he called the 11th commandment. Do not speak ill of another Republican. So that's the way I've tried to conduct my career. There are two types of people I've run into in politics. Those who want to make a point, and it's pretty easy to do because all you have to do is criticize another member of your party, or those who want to make a difference. Fortunately, I've been surrounded mostly by people who wanted to make a difference for their state in a close election or federal policy. So, okay. No criticism of Trump. No, nothing direct. All right. Just, I don't criticize Republicans. And, I'm not going to. And, I'm here I was making a difference. That's all I was doing. Fortunate, very fortunate. Well, on that, yeah, you have made a difference. You made this country worse. Now, Mitch McConnell, I don't think he gets enough credit for all of the terrible things that he has done to make this country worse over the years. He's one of the people, remember, who brought many cases against restrictions on money in politics. His actions over the years allowed for corporate special interest money to flood into our political system. You look at all the major decisions on money in politics, and Mitch McConnell or one of his groups is behind it. Not only that, but he has also allowed the Supreme Court takeover by Donald Trump, which led to the gutting of reproductive rights across the nation, and the immunity now enjoyed by our criminal president. On that, he said, quote, "It never occurred to me that Donald Trump would actually get elected. When he did, we had the Supreme Court vacancy sitting there and an opportunity to change the court system with quality strict constructionists for a long time." That was an opportunity that he created by blocking the replacement here, blocking Okay, stonewalling the Obama nominee. That's right. And immediately acting to replace another Supreme Court justice. So, I mean, yeah, he saw these opportunities, more like he created these opportunities, and took them. And you can tell that he really ain't all that sorry about it. Just like he is not sorry about voting to let Donald Trump go during his second impeachment. Remember, he voted not to convict. And so there you go. He ain't sorry about none of this. Everything that has happened here, I mean, a lot of the stuff you can trace back to Mitch McConnell, the money in politics, the impeachment vote, all of this. Okay. And he's not sorry. He's not sorry. Look, I'm glad that Mitch McConnell is finally leaving government. Okay. He's not running again. But it's unfortunate that he has left such a mess in his wake through his long career of serving his donors and being just a generally evil guy. That is the legacy of Mitch McConnell. And it's one that in the history books, well, shouldn't reflect well on him. Okay. I still love your impression of Mitch McConnell. True. Makes both sides corrupt. The money in politics, they can't compete without the money. Unfortunately, yeah, that is an unfortunate truth. Our system is now wedded to big corporate and donor money, and you know who has all the money? The right wing. That's where all of our the money in our political system really is. And now you could say, but the Democrats, they raised so much money during the election. Kamala Harris blew like $2 billion. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The right wing. If you don't think that the Democrats are also part of the right wing, they're center right, then you don't understand how conservative our country has actually become. And I don't say that by and I don't mean the voters when I say conservative, right? No, our politics is more conservative because it is driven by the donor class that benefit from tax cuts and deregulation. Okay, that's really it. The American people are actually progressive on so many different issues. So many issues. But our political system, driven by big corporate money, is always going to be more conservative because, well, conservatives love deregulation, tax cuts, and so do businesses. And that's the reality. Mitch has one foot in the grave. Why don't politicians retire anymore? Yeah, I mean, he is not running in 2026. So he's pretty much done after this. But, that's a good point. That is a good question. Oh, it's a fair question. Yeah, you have so many of these. And I think really this is a big problem for Democrats. Because the Democrats have had more people die in office than the Republicans have. And so, I mean, you have the gerontocracy in the Democratic Party specifically. I mean, Nancy Pelosi is what, 83? Then you had some of the others that, died in office or are getting ready to, are real close. And that is, again, a huge problem in our politics. Huge problem because you have these, elderly members, and it's not their age that's the problem specifically. it really is their politics that is the problem, where they are very centrist, neoliberal, center right, people who are still afraid of, seeing what happened back in, what was it, Dukakis getting wiped out, and all of that, and bought into the we must be, we must triangulate, we must go to the center. Dianne Feinstein is another good example. Yes. There was another Jerry Connolly, who also yes, died. And it had taken a place, by the way, which could have been occupied, a position that could have been occupied by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I know that there's a lot of people who are kind of mad at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for whatever reason, right? But I think that she would be beneficial in a position like that, House Oversight Committee. And so I think she would have done excellent at that job. No, she's not going to hit the socialism button. That's not who she is. But she still would have been, I think, an effective voice against the Trump regime. And we don't have that anymore. And so, yeah. Anyway. There are probably like 6 left-type people in the entire Democratic Party. Yeah, pretty much. And again, a lot of them, when you look and compare them to, for example, European politicians, are actually more center-left than anything. Bernie Sanders. I like the guy. He's still center-left. And no one out there is calling for the democratization of their workplace, okay, in Democratic politics. Not even Zohran Mamdani, okay, is calling for worker co-ops or for, workers to basically take the means of production, okay? But nonetheless, that's democratic socialism, and I think we could definitely use a little bit more of that than what we have now. Okay, anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you for watching the show. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Check us out on the different platforms, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram. Yep, I'm on Instagram at the Logical Leftist as well. So check that out. You can follow me there. And, all that stuff. Support the show. patreon.com/jeffwaldorf. I don't get paid by any of these, groups, Polymarket or Chorus or anything like that. No, it's just I'm pure independent, progressive media. And as always, look, independent, progressive media needs your help to stay independent. If anything proves that to you, it should be the recent stuff about, dark money groups funding creators and things like that. We wouldn't need that if more people were willing to and able to come and support independent creators, through platforms like Patreon and platforms, or memberships and things like that. So we don't do any of that. Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see. Non-Trump right-wingers are looking for a new political home and are coming over to the Dem Party and donating to the most conservative Democrats. And again, you also have that corporate money in politics. Yeah, there is that issue as well. All right. So anyway, thank you all. Appreciate you. And I will be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, as always. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you.